Kevin, I know throughout the year you've talked a lot about transition defense when you have two bigs out there, but against a team like Michigan State that runs as much as they do, how high on the list of priorities is that?
No, it's rebounding, transition defense, and not turning the basketball over, probably in that order against Michigan State.
And I think in Big Ten play, they're allowing opponents to shoot like 28% from three. What do you see from their guards defensively that make them so good?
I think their pick and roll defense is really, really good. Their bigs do a great job hedging. Their guards work to get over screens. So I think they really take away some of your pick and roll actions that a lot of people use to get single tags, double tags, and I think they just do a really good job. Their big guys do a great job working and really making your guards make an extra pass, but then they really just run you off the line.
And then when you're preparing to play a team that runs 10 deep, how much different is it when they have that deep of a bench to prepare for?
Yeah, not that. I mean, they're deep, but you're still worrying about the same guys. I mean, if you don't take care of Holloman and Atkins and Fears, you're in trouble anyways. I mean, their depth is great, but at the same time, their usage rate is for their bench is not very high. Their usage rate for their main four guys is extremely high.
Hey, Coach. A lot of the past opponents for Michigan State have run a lot of zone. Michigan did it. I think some other teams did too. If you guys do anticipate playing any zone, and if not, defensively they're not great at shooting the three ball. Are you how are you going to guard them?
They're actually a much better shooting team. If you look at their past 9 games and where they started the season, and I really think the difference is once they moved Holloman off to the bench and brought him off the bench. They've actually been shooting the ball above average for conference play. I think they're a better shooting team than people just look at their stats and say, "All right, this is what they're shooting." You really got to look at game specific and the difference in how this team. I mean, they went from young to kind of old, back to young to old. They've really improved. I think this is by far the difference between them in December and them and now in almost March is night and day. So to look at the shooting percentages back in December, early in the season where they struggled to now where I think they're shooting the basketball with much more confidence, I think is a major difference.
And then I just wanted to ask your perspective as a coach. You've been around the game for a minute, and now, guys, there's more shooting coaches, more individual coaches. Compared to your time when you first started in coaching, do you see guys change their shot more? Are they more insistent on, no, this is my shot, I'm sticking with it? Like, what have you kind of seen? Has there been a shift at all in how players approach their jump shot?
No, I mean, I think there's been a shift into everybody wanting to shoot the ball. Whether you're 7 foot or 5'11", everyone thinks they have to be Steph Curry or Kevin Durant. But I think there's just been a bigger emphasis on the fact that everybody feels that they need to be able to shoot the basketball. So I think that's why you see a lot more shooting coaches and that stuff, because the emphasis on shooting has become so much greater than it was in the past. If you were 7 foot in the past, you would never shoot the basketball. You would work on your low post moves, and that's totally changed now.
Kevin, I believe you said that you show your team Ken Pom numbers every now and then. Just wondering, obviously that's a commonly discussed thing, amongst the media and fans, but what do you see as the value in showing that to your players at certain points of the season?
I think the biggest difference is now with the transfer portal, you have guys coming from leagues that conference games didn't matter, where the only thing that mattered were 3 games in March. And for me this year, showing them Ken Pom, getting them to understand the net, margin of victory, who you're playing, when you're playing, where you're playing, I think changed this team's mentality a little bit. Instead of just going into every game to try to win, understanding the importance of every game. And when you're at some different conferences, you can not play well in January and February. It doesn't really matter. It matters in this conference. It matters at this level. Every game is, from November on, is important, and how you play and what the score is, and so just getting them to understand what that means.
And obviously, you talked about the importance of this game tomorrow. with the Big Ten standings being kind of bunched up at the top, has that all been a conversation you've had with the team, kind of just the implications of this game?
I have not talked to them about the standings. They have talked about it themselves. This team has what I love most about coaching this team is that I do think that they have a sense of awareness of where they are and what's going on within the league. So I know they've talked about it.
We'll do Heather.
Hey, Coach, I've got two. First, is focusing on your team. Is this where do you have like goals, I guess, when you start the season about where you want them to be at certain times of year? And to us on the outside, it seems like they're really hitting their stride now. Where are they in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I think I break the conference schedule up into technically sixes, a third, a third, a third. And when I looked at the conference schedule this year, really getting through January was my biggest, getting us through there and playing well was my biggest goal. But I think we're playing good basketball. I mean, I think we could get better. We haven't been able to practice that much just because we're so, we're down technically almost 5 scholarship guys. So maybe my biggest worry is that we just haven't been able to practice quite as much as I'd like to. But as far as where we are, I like where we are.
And then going against Michigan State, I mean, Tom Izzo just had his record a couple weeks ago. Just, what have you seen from him since you've been in conference? Obviously, seeing him before you were in the Big Ten and just what he's been able to do and sustain over these years.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Izzo is, obviously the gold standard for this conference. I think he's the reason why the Big Ten basketball is Big Ten basketball. If you look at, we were just doing it, you can go on KenPom and you can click on a head coach and you can kind of see what their seed is, what their conference record is every year, where they've been. And we were talking about guys like, Bill Self, Coach Izzo, John Calipari, just what they've done for college basketball, what they've meant for college basketball. And I think Coach Izzo for the Big Ten has helped, and if not been the main reason why, arguably year in, year out, this is the best college basketball conference.
Coach, just the chemistry that your starting five has developed, how difficult is that when you've brought in, a true freshman, several transfers and so forth? And I guess, are you at all surprised at how quickly it's come together?
I think Julian's been a huge Julian and Derek, probably both. Ju sacrificed a lot early. Derek coming in as a McDonald's All-American, I thought he sacrificed a lot early. And I think the other guys kind of realized if you're a veteran player who's been here for 4 years and, like I said, should go down as one of the best players ever played at the University of Maryland, if he's sacrificing from day one and the McDonald's All-American is coming with all his hype, he's sacrificing, then maybe we should all get along. So I think those two guys set the tone early on, but I probably give most credit to Julian because he probably had to, coming in his senior year, being the only guy that's been here. I thought his unselfishness really set the tone.
Is there anything you think worked particularly well about the way you guys went about putting this team together last offseason that you kind of learned from or can try to replicate?
Yeah, I mean, I think every year nowadays you're going into first who you have returning. You have to I knew we had Derek, and after I talked to Ju after we lost in the Big Ten tournament, and he told me he was coming back, I knew I had those two. That's all I knew I had. But that was, all right, so I had my starting power forward, my starting center. I knew what I had with Ju. I kind of knew what I had with Derek. So you flip your switch. It's almost happened already. Like, I'm a GM right now. You're really looking at it, even for next year, I kind of know what I have. And so now you're looking at, all right, how do I build off that going in and do the same thing? So we had, I thought, the best front court, and so I needed to have guys that could shoot the basketball. It was a non-negotiable. If you could not shoot the basketball, we were not bringing you in off the portal. And we had a couple guys, some really good players, that wanted to come here, but it just didn't fit. And so for me, it was getting someone to replace J.Y. That was the most important reason. And then getting two other guys that could really score the basketball.
Kevin, how does a homestand like this late in the season where you've got 3 games like this together, how does this help you guys reset and get in gear for the final push?
It's been nice. I'll be honest, I'd rather have it in January. This time of year, I think everyone's grinding. If you look at, I think Michigan had a big-time win at Nebraska last night. I think everyone's grinding this time of year. I think you can gain a lot of momentum early in conference play sometimes that can help carry you this time of year. But being home, I'm never going to argue, never going to complain about being in this building. I mean, our record's pretty good here.
You talked a little bit about Jaden Akins earlier. What makes him such a special player? What makes him such a challenge to contain?
Him and Hollerman are, and I'm going to use this, this would be the wrong term, they're dogs, man. Like, they don't care who they're playing, where they're playing, what they're up against. They're coming at you. They fit Coach Izzo's personality to a T. I mean, it doesn't matter. They could be down, they could be up. They're going to come at you constantly. And I love how aggressive they are. I love how they don't seem to get flustered whatsoever. I just think he's a dog, man. He's one of those kids you hate playing against and would love to have on your team.
Coach, the starting five, obviously the Crab Five, increasing in popularity, kind of growing. But putting the nickname aside, what about that unit makes them, you as a coach, you look forward to coaching them every day when you come into this building?
First of all, they all have an unbelievably great attitude. They all walk in. They're always smiling. They're always laughing. They walk into the gym and they're not in a bad mood. They're not cranky. Every one of them hasn't had a bad day of practice, which is very, very rare. And I think the second thing is, they can score the ball. So as a coach, you run a play and it kind of sucks, which you do a lot. But you have a guy like Selton who can make a 25-footer or Kobe who can make up for it. As a coach, it gives you so much confidence going in and game plan that you have guys that can cover for when you make a stupid play call. That's the best coaching in the world, is that getting really good players.
Do you like that nickname?
I think it's great. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, it took me a little while to get it. And then I realized I was, Maryland and crabs and all that. So, yeah, I thought I kind of was like, I thought we played pretty fast. We're 8th in tempo. I didn't think we played slow. And then it took me a while. But I think it's great. I think the fans have been great with it, and I think it's well-deserved. They're a fun group to watch, and I think they've been really enjoyable all year. Thanks, everybody.